Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчтэй. Өнөөдөр манай де факто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор бүгд найрамдах Турк улсын онц бөгөөд бүрэн эрхт элчин сайд ноён Ahmet Yazal оролцож байна.
Ahmet Yazal бүгд найрамдах Турк улсаас Монгол Улсад суугаа онц бөгөөд бүрэн эрхт элчин сайд. Ahmet Yazal ойрхон хоорондын техникийн их сургуулийн эдийн засаг удирдлагын сургуулийг төгсжээ. Тэрээр бүгд найрамдах Турк улсын гадаад хэргийн яамны болгосон хүчний газарт улс төрийн ажилтан, тус яамны умард болон Төв Европ, Балтийн орнуудын хилтэст улс төрийн ажилтан, Сараево дахь элчин сайдын яамд 3 дугаар нарийн бичгийн дарга, Бригенц дахь ерөнхий консулын газарт эдийн консул, Скопе дахь элчин сайдын яамд 2 дугаар нарийн бичгийн дарга, Ром дахь элчин сайдын яамд 2 дугаар нарийн бичгийн дарга, НАТО дахь бүгд найрамдах Турк улсын байнгын төлөөлөгчийн газарт 1 дугаар нарийн бичгийн дарга, зөвлөх Багдад дахь элчин сайдын яамд зөвлөх, Басра дахь ерөнхий консулын газарт ерөнхий консул, Ирак дахь тусгай төлөөлөгчийн газарт газрын дарга, Мосул дахь ерөнхий консулын газарт ерөнхий консул, 1-р зэргийн ерөнхий консул, Амстердам дахь ерөнхий консулын газарт ерөнхий консул зэрэг албан тушаалыг тус хашиж байсан ба 2017 оноос бүгд найрамдах Турк улсаас Монгол Улсад суугаа онц бөгөөд бүрэн эрхт элчин сайдаар ажиллаж байна.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please tell us how you find your work so far. You have already certain time here as ambassador. You had a wonderful background as ambassador. You have been working in the region, so I'd like to cover some issues with you. So far, how is it your job now? How do you find?
Well, quite interesting. Being the Turkish ambassador is like coming back to the start of our history for a Turkish diplomat. And we have very good relations that we enjoy with Mongolia. So it's a very positive agenda since I came here about 2.5 years ago. What we're trying to do is, instead of trying to solve issues between Turkey and Mongolia, since we don't have any, it's better focusing on the problems, our common problems that we need to solve together with Mongolia. I have been very successfully working on that because I always have and find very good cooperation from the Mongolian side and in every agency, be it official or private.
How is trade relations between two countries since the other side, political and all this side, is going well? And I just always the warning is, or my concern always, since the back time, we could have a lot of trade with Turkey. How do you find the situation for investment as well?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The trade relations and the economic relations is the probably only leg of our relations that's lagging behind the others. Our trade volume last year showed an increase of about 30%. And you would think that it had made a big number. Now it has just come to something like $43 million according to Mongolian numbers. So, and this trade of volume is nothing in our bilateral trade or global trade in Turkey. We have a global trade of $400 billion a year, almost. So there is great potential because we produce a lot of stuff that Mongolians would like to be using here in good quality and in good price. And Mongolia has products that Turkish companies will be very interested in using it as inputs to final products as leather or cashmere or maybe even meat and lots of other agricultural stuff. And also Turkish companies would be very much interested in investing here because you have a huge market around you and special connections with those markets. So there are lots of opportunities, but we are not exploiting it, that's true.
Every time when I go to Turkey, you have a wonderful leather products. You can buy it everywhere, London, Milano, you go and it's Turkish good leather, very high quality. Yet in this country, we are throwing away the leather because we do not properly, and we don't have the capacity to process. And initially you would think, and you have a lot of expertise in leather, thousands of years experiences, why the leather companies would not come?
Well, easy, because they can't. For any trade relation to be established, you need two things. First, the investors to be able to travel easily. Second, the products either being imported or exported being carried easily. At the moment, that's the choking point of our economic relations, and it is becoming maybe a slowing down point for all the other relations as well. What we really need is, between the two countries, a very quick and fast way of transportation, that is air travel.
Yeah, that's what have been staying on the agenda very long. As far as we know in Mongolia, that due to the certain agreement limits, you fly the type of plane that had to stay in Bishkekt.
That's true.
We don't know, just understand refueling, but then it's another 1 hour killing, and it makes it very hard.
Yeah, that's true. At the moment, we have a 500-seat limitation on the number of passengers, not on the number of seats actually we can bring to Mongolian airplanes. And that limits us when you want to fly 3 times a week to small aircraft. And that aircraft has to stop in Bishkek to refuel. Because
why they would not fly 2 large ones? I mean, twice, but large ones.
It's an airline issue. I mean, if you do that, then you will be stretching the time between 2 flights to 4 days, 5 days. And that way, passengers do not really want to travel to destinations. I mean, you like the flexibility if you're a tourist or a businessman to be able to go and come back with the same airline. And our Turkish Airlines experts and all the aviation experts you would speak to will tell you the same. Minimum 3 flights is a necessary number if you would like to have a meaningful and economically viable route between any 2 destinations.
Because the minimum travel time requirements, you optimally should have 3 times a week
Imagine
flights.
you're a Turkish businessman who would like to come here just for a meeting or signing an agreement. If you have 2 flights a week, you will have to stay here minimum 4 days. That doesn't really work.
Not 4 days. However, that issue is known for quite some time. What's wrong? Why is that slow?
Well, that is a question that I ask all the time as well, because when you look at from the economic aspect or logic, I cannot see the reason why it has taken too long. But when I look to our history, I see that we had to go through similar problems when we liberalized our civil aviation, and then when we decided to privatize Turkish Airlines. More or less the similar arguments that are going around here on the civil aviation liberalization and the privatization of airlines had been gone through in Turkey as well. But our experience showed that once we liberalized the civil aviation trade, the number of passengers increased very quickly with introduction of new airline companies. The market share in percentage of Turkish Airlines in that dropped a bit, but the actual number of passengers they were able to carry increased because the market grew. And when we privatized Turkish Airlines, we saw that now it was being run as a private company that was seeking profit, and that is what made Turkish Airlines one of the best 10 airlines in the world.
And it is almost the largest one in the world now.
Well, one of the largest. In terms of the number of countries that it is flying to, it is number 1. In terms of number of destinations it's flying to, well, it's again, I think, in the top 10. And in the fleet size, it's again in number 10. But, of course, quantity does not mean everything. We also are very proud that Turkish Airlines is being selected for the 6th or 7th consecutive year in Europe as the best airline of Europe.
About new airport, because you have such an increase after privatization, liberalization, suggesting open air and everybody can fly if they want, then it made also a competition, and it made it possible Turkish Airlines competing and growing itself, which brought the new need. Now you have a new airport in Istanbul. Tell us, how is it now working?
Well, it's working very well. The old airport didn't have the capacity to handle any more flights. It was receiving sometimes, almost every day, more than 1,200 flights. but that was more or less the top of its capacity. Even when we wanted to stretch it, you can only stretch it so far because of airline security rules and concerns. So what we needed was a new airport that will be able to handle more flights a day, so it will be able to allow more passengers to come to and go through Turkey. Currently, the airport we built in Istanbul has an initial capacity of 90 million passengers. When you think that Turkish Airlines alone was able to carry 75 million passengers a year, that tells you that even that initial capacity is not excessive. And well, if you have a big airline, that will allow not only for your airline to grow, but also air traffic through your country to grow. And that will mean that there will be more opportunity to bring in more tourists and investment to your country and have your businessmen and goods to be sent, exported to other countries more easily. Some people say, well, 90 million, okay, well, when the airport is completed, it will have a capacity of 200 million passengers. Some think that might be a too big a number to aim for. But since the airport opened at the beginning of April, in 2 months' time, we were able to have 10 million passengers going through the airport already.
Within 2 months, less than 2 months.
Yes, that's right.
So it looks like historically, after privatization, usually it goes in that way. I mean, whether our regulators or Mongolian Airlines don't understand that, or how come? There is one saying, for example, in newspaper there was an article that Turkish Airlines are coming to a new country. I think it either Georgia, Armenia, and at the beginning the price was lower, and then all other airlines bankrupt. Then Turkish Airlines increased. Whether it's true or not, we cannot verify.
Well, I can tell you that it is not true. Georgia has an open skies policy. They are allowing all the airlines that they can bring to their country, and in return they are having one of the highest or most speedily growing tourism sectors in the world. So it's a matter of choice how to regulate your airlines, but there is a cost for every decision. Mongolia wishes to bring in 1 million tourists a year to Mongolia. MEAT alone cannot carry it. That's a fact. And if you ask me, Mongolia has a far bigger potential than 1 million passengers a year, and a far longer season if you are able to utilize every aspect of your natural and historical beauties. You're not limited only to 3 months of the summer and an autumn period. This is a beautiful country even in winter if you can build the infrastructure.
That's why what you request is a 3 times a week flight, but with bigger plane.
Well, what we have been asking, even on the day that we signed the agreement that limited us to 500 passengers a week, so 3 small aircraft, we wanted to fly 7 days a week without any passenger limitations. But the Mongolian side decided, well, they should start with 3 flights a week. And at that time, there was the civil aviation policy limiting the end of the Mongolian government for further increases and discussions until 2020. But now, last year, the policy has been changed for the liberalization. We have the legal ground to look for and have an agreement with the Mongolian side to ban all the limitations on our flights. What we really request is 7 daily flights with wide-body aircraft without passenger limitations. That will enable us to bring here more than 90,000 passengers. But of course, we are ready to have an incremental increase. We can start with making the current 3 flights direct flights with wide-body aircraft, and then maybe go 5, maybe 7. On a schedule to be agreed by the Mongolian side.
Argument, as I have heard, that this they will be hard for them to have a competition on Moscow line, as all the Europeans will come through Istanbul. That's what they say.
Well, they are speaking to us in negotiations, so I would limit myself to what they tell us in the meetings. They have been complaining that Turkish Airlines flights has resulted in a drop in the number of passengers they carried, and a general drop in the number of passengers coming to Mongolia. So what Turkish Airlines basically did, they claim, was to steal a part of the market but not to bring additional passengers. And when you look at the numbers of the Mongolian institutions, Mongolian Border Police or Tourism Ministry, you'll see that number of passengers coming to Mongolia almost increased by the number 20,000 that Turkish Airlines carried to here, and there was no drop in the number of passengers Miat was carrying before Turkish Airlines started to fly and carrying now. So there are claims, but what we believe is, yes, there will be competition, and competition is good. But when we want to do this flight things, we're not trying to make money for Turkey and make money for Turkish Airlines. Turkish Airlines is making this offer on request of the Turkish government because we need an airlink. And sometimes not very well remembered offer that we have been making is, what we need is an airlink with aircraft flying direct with cargo capacity, and we are okay if Miat wants to do it. So it's not only us asking for Turkish Airlines to make money.
The same amount of flights, planes, Miat can do that.
Well, not even same. I would say maybe Mongolian side will be putting some limitations again, saying that 5 days a week, 7 days a week, just one flight a day. We don't want to put any limitations on Miat flights. They can fly to Turkey as many times a week with as many aircraft they want.
Okay. And it is a matter of probably from Mongolian side changing that policy, being ready to be ready for competition.
Well, yes. I mean, it's a healthy thing, competition. But again, when, how, and under which conditions, it's for every government to decide.
And what is your request level respond now? Where it is it stuck or it is going on considering?
Well, what we have done is we made our, I would say, rather offer than a request to fly 7 days a week, because this will be a contribution to the relations between the two countries. And we have also made Miat a cooperation agreement offer. And well, so far we have been waiting for the response of the Mongolian authorities and Miat.
How long are you waiting for that?
A long time.
Long time. Hope this is some issue we need to solve. To have more tourism, which is good for economy. It's good for local employment, good for local restaurants, foods, all the services. And hope the decision makers not only consider the flight numbers, but more broader tourism and other income. And plus with a bigger plane, you have also more cargo chance, which will make easier the life of traders, right? Okay. I mean, from my side, I can hope that they can hear, and that's the argument. The ambassador is expressing itself very clearly that what is the need. Another question I would like to ask you is, recently there is in our newspaper media news comes that you have cancelled some teachers' passport, which made them, once the passports are not valid, made them, when their term is finished here, illegal. What happened? Why is that?
Well, I mean, cancellation of passports or travel documents is an administrative decision. Imagine every person is entitled to apply for a driver's license or a passport, but according to the laws or regulations of the country, not everyone can get it. So any country can put limitations on it. In this case, these 8 teachers are working in schools that are owned by a terrorist organization that was behind the coup, that was the organizer of the coup in 2016 in Turkey, which led to the killing of 251 Turkish citizens and more than 2,000 people injured, all civilians. And what we are trying to do is, we are trying to bring people who were connected with these schools, working in these schools, in administrative roles especially, to come to Turkey and to answer questions of the investigators. These people were asked to come back to Turkey, all of them, in many cases. Of course, we do not have a direct link. So what they are being asked is to go to Turkey to speak, answer questions, and if they don't have any connection to any criminal activities, they will go on to their lives as normal citizens. But as it is in Turkey, when people refuse to come back for questioning of the legal authorities, we have to take measures. And that's why, as an administrative decision, we cancelled their passports. they are free to apply to our embassy, ask for travel documents. We will take their request to Turkey, and our legal authorities, our police and the Ministry of Justice will evaluate that and will decide if they will be issued passports or they will be issued just a travel document for going back to Turkey and answering these questions of the legal authorities.
So they should.
But they have not done yet.
They should request the authority you here, or they should go back and answer questions.
Well, I mean, since we don't have an investigative capacity and authority here, of course they will need to go back to Turkey. But, I mean, we have not been applied by these people. They have not even took a step or even made a call to our embassy. They haven't made any request. I mean, it is not for me to decide.
But however, Ambassador, yes, coup d'etat, de facto, coup d'etat, 151 person killed. It's of course illegal attempt to have a power, etc. That we understand. Later on, those teachers, many of them, teachers and whoever you regard related to these organizations, according to the Western media, they are arrested, in some cases tortured, and then knowing that facts, would the ordinary person, even connected or not connected, would they go to that kind of situation willingly?
Yes, there is those claims against Turkey all the time. Well, let me give you just some brief numbers. In the legal cases against these people who were arrested or taken under custody or being tried as free people, the number of people who are found guilty or court cases who were resulted in a guilty verdict is around 50%. So half of them are being released and going on their lives as ordinary citizens. They all retain all of their rights to take these decisions to higher courts, including the International Court of Human Rights, European Court of Human Rights. So all those legal ways that are available to any European citizen in any European country are available to these people as well. That's the first thing. For the torture allegations, I cannot claim that everything in Turkey is being right. I'm not there. But one thing Turkey has done that many countries haven't done so, we have actually cancelled the statute of limitations on torture claims. So you cannot say that, well, if you kill a person, 15 years later you arrest this person, you say, well, statute of limitations prevent me being tried for this crime because the term for 10 years has gone through and I'm no longer viable for trial. But for torture claims, we don't have any limitations. If you find the person who have tortured you maybe 50 years from now, he will still be tried in Turkey.
Here in Mongolia, we finish some cases after certain years.
For torture claims, this does not apply in Turkey.
Okay, but however, these people who are, can anyone give guarantee that it is safe to come back to?
Well, it is Turkish government who provides this guarantee. And when you think about the number of cases that are going through the courts, a number of cases that Turkish security agencies are dealing with, well, there are not any torture claims that have been verified by the European Court of Human Rights.
You see, in case of these teachers, we don't know. I mean, we cannot imagine that there was a terrorist sitting here and teaching our kids. And I mean, how does it work? The Turkish students graduate from these schools, have a good life, as much as education can afford. And we don't see any evidence that they are becoming terrorists or something like this. And then suddenly, in front of Mongolian community, your teacher were terrorists. That people don't buy.
Well, we're not saying that. We're just saying that these people are working for a terrorist organization that owns the schools. That is what we're saying. And they need to be investigated and answer questions. So when they come and say and show that they're only teachers working in a school without any connections to the real ownership or ideological or any kind of involvement with crimes, they'll go free. But as any citizen who is invited by the legal authorities to come and answer claims or questions, they have to come and answer them.
So as
I don't know if they are guilty or not. It's not for me to do. It's for a court to decide.
Understand. As of this month, the end of this month, these people have no valid documents anymore, and the permission is ended. What shall we do with them?
Well, it's for you to decide. I mean, I cannot speak for the Mongolian authorities. They are free to come to Turkish embassy and ask for a travel document.
These people?
That is where my authority ends. Outside the fences of my embassy, I don't have any authority. So it's for the Mongolian government to decide. We are ready to receive these people to Turkey, process them in accordance with our laws and regulations.
Can you order a special plane and send them to Turkey?
Well, no, we cannot order. We can only help Mongolian authorities, in agreement with Mongolian authorities, for their transportation to Turkey, but only if we are invited by the Mongolian authorities.
Okay. Of course, this is the topic that of attention of all people here in Mongolia. We are closely watching what will be the next step of our government. And as you said, it is administrative measure, and any country can cancel or expire or give any documents to their citizens. That's what your take. Anyway, let's go back about the future. Let's talk about. I hope it will be solved somehow.
Going back to the future, I like the term.
No, because that's something here, ordinary Mongolians, and I think ordinary businesses in Turkey, as normal people to have normal relations, friendship, trade, is investment, right? And we just talked about the travel bottlenecks, which we hope it will be solved somehow. How do you see the knowledge of Turkish people? How we can promote Mongolia to Turkish people, so that more tourists are coming? We have the river Orkhon. You have many Orkhons names. I saw many similarity, historic. This Tanyukuk monument here, etc. So how do you see that the future?
Well, let me see. Turkish history starts here. Everyone in Turkey knows about the Orhun monuments, the Orhun Valley, and Yotiken, as the name we attach to Orhun Valley area in Turkey. So you don't really need to promote Mongolia in Turkey. And there is a big number of Turkish people who would like to come and touch those monuments, because this is where our history starts. Tanyukuk monument, many people fail to realize that is the oldest Turkish text that contains the word Turk in it, ever found anywhere in the world.
You can read those, what is written there?
Well, unfortunately, that's an alphabet that Turks devised here in the Göktürk Empire. And we are not...
Like we did, change it several times alphabet.
That's true. But when you transform it into a Latin alphabet, it is very familiar, and almost many of the words are identical. And with some assistance, you can understand the general idea, general text. Yeah.
Have you made any text in Turkish language following that logic?
What you mean? I mean,
what is on the monument? Have you translated into modern Turkish?
Of course. There are translations.
And what does it say?
Well, it speaks about the experience of the leaders leading their community, the Turkish Budun, that would be Turk Ulus. Ulus is still a word we use in Turkey with the same meaning. And
as a country?
Well, as a nation.
As a nation.
Ulus is nation in Turkish.
Do you have the word stan?
Stan? Not as a separate word, but we name a lot of
countries with Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan,
and
Mongolistan. The word stan is also meaning that...
people who come from Mongolia, kind of meaning.
We have a word yastang, meaning the same.
Yeah, probably it's
a little bit different origin, people, but we call it yastang. Bag yastang, tom yastang, barong.
I'm not surprised at all, because there are so many words with common grounds that I would be not surprised about this.
Yeah, about the future, what I think, as more Turkish tourists come here, those people in between us, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, they will learn also a lot the history tracks, what had happened.
That's true.
Which is not that much explored, isn't it?
That's true. But the number of tourists going to those countries are bigger. I mean, when you speak about Kyrgyzstan, the number of Turkish citizens who go there every year is more than 100,000. Here, less than 3,000. So it's a shame.
How many thousand?
Less than 3,000 to Mongolia.
Less than 3,000.
Yeah.
Oh, quite.
So it's a pity. because this country, I believe, carries the potential of bringing at least 50,000 Turkish tourists a year. But we're not only offering Turkish tourists, we're offering through Turkish Airlines flights, since they fly to 120 countries around the world, to bring tourists from all these destinations.
Connection is no doubt. Very competitive connections.
And just let me give you my number. If you put just one article in Turkish Airlines in-flight magazine, it will be read by 6 million people a month. So that's a very good way of promoting Mongolia. Well, we can do it, and we want to do it.
Ambassador, we have discussed current issues. Not very pleasant issues, but however, this is the issues, challenges we face today, and solving these challenges are work of ambassador, media, ordinary people on two sides. We should discuss and solve, and I think I'm very happy that you've been open to that as ambassador and answering these questions, which otherwise people with kind of secrecy, you're just doing your jobs, I understand. And I think this is a good way to approach, and I hope the travel issue will be solved very soon.
Hopefully. I mean, let me repeat again. We have issues that we're working together with the Mongolian side to solve, but these are not bilateral problems. These are common problems we need to solve. And we will find a solution to all of these, depending on our laws, regulations, legal requirements, and also for the benefit of our countries, I'm sure about that.
Ambassador, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Хүн үзэгчдээ өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Турк улсын элчин сайд Ahmet Yazal оролцлоо. Хоёр улсын өмнө тулгарч байгаа зарим асуудлуудын талаар нээлттэй шулуухан ярилцсан ажил боллоо. Их баярлалаа.